In 2019, the United States established its sixth branch of the military, not another Army division, not a Marine expansion. An entirely new branch dedicated to a domain humanity has occupied for less than 70 years. Space. That same year, a cybersecurity company at 1717 Pennsylvania Avenue, 3 blocks from the White House, published a document on its website connecting the U.S. Space Force to the Book of Enoch, a 3,000-year-old text about beings from above and forbidden technology, connected to the newest branch of the American military by a company with Department of Homeland Security ties. If that doesn't raise a question, nothing will. Ingersoll Lockwood Incorporated, founded by Gary Malevsky, a cybersecurity expert with documented advisory connections to the Department of Homeland Security. The company focuses on emerging threats, quantum encryption, and what it calls XSARC, a secure communications platform. On its own, nothing unusual. Washington is full of defense-adjacent cybersecurity firms, but Ingersoll Lockwood does something no other DHS-connected company does. It maintains a public reading library, and that library includes the 1893 novel Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey and the 1896 novel The Last President, both written by a 19th century diplomat named Ingersoll Lockwood, the company's namesake. In 1893, a novelist wrote about a character named Baron Trump, a wealthy young man from New York who embarks on an underground journey guided by a mysterious figure called the Dawn. The story involves time displacement, advanced civilizations, and a return to New York City. In 1896, the same author wrote about the last president of the United States, elected amid populist upheaval, financial chaos, and the threat of foreign invasion. The protests in the story center on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. I want to be precise about something. Trump was a real New York family name in the 1890s. Tiffany was a famous jeweler since 1837. Fifth Avenue was already the center of New York wealth. A novelist set his story there using names that existed in his environment. The question isn't whether Lockwood predicted Trump. The question is why a modern DHS-connected cybersecurity company chose this specific 19th century author as its brand identity, and why it publishes these books alongside a document connecting Space Force to the Book of Enoch. The company's communications include a recurring phrase, NCSWIC, nothing can stop what is coming. That phrase carries weight in specific communities. It signals awareness of or alignment with a narrative about institutional transformation, declassification, and what those communities call the Great Awakening. Regardless of your position on those movements, the signal is deliberate. A DHS-affiliated company doesn't accidentally embed that language. It's placed intentionally, and then there's the Space Force connection. The company publishes material linking the newest branch of the U.S. military to ancient texts describing non-human intelligence and advanced technology. To understand why that matters, you need to understand what was happening in the years before Space Force was created. December 2017, the New York Times reveals the existence of AUDIT, the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, a $22 million Pentagon program studying what it called anomalous aerospace vehicles. The program was led by Luis Elizondo, who resigned in protest over what he described as institutional resistance to investigating the phenomena. 2019, Navy pilots publicly confirm encounters with objects that demonstrated capabilities beyond any known technology. The Pentagon releases 3 videos, Gimbal, Go Fast. FLIR 1 showing objects with no visible propulsion system performing maneuvers that would kill a human pilot. December 2019, Trump signs the National Defense Authorization Act establishing Space Force. July 2023, David Grush, former intelligence officer for the National Reconnaissance Office and the UAP Task Force, testifies before Congress under oath. He alleges the U.S. government possesses non-human craft and has been running recovery and reverse engineering programs for decades. Space Force was not created to watch satellites. Satellites were already watched by the Air Force. Space Force was created to consolidate something, programs, oversight, capabilities, under a new command authority. The question has always been, consolidate what? Now watch the threads connect. Season 1, Tesla develops electromagnetic field technology, suppressed by financial power, papers seized by government, key documents remain classified. Season 2, ancient religious traditions describe end times events centered on specific geography. Modern geopolitical actors follow those scripts, whether consciously or not. The predictions we mapped using AI pattern recognition came true. Season 3, the Book of Enoch describes beings who brought advanced technology, metallurgy, astronomy, atmospheric science to humanity. The text was suppressed for 16 centuries. The Dead Sea Scrolls proved it was mainstream scripture, not fringe. Now, a Navy researcher patents electromagnetic propulsion and space-time modification. A DHS-connected company links Space Force to Enoch. Congress hears testimony about non-human craft recovery programs, and the financial system is transitioning from SWIFT to a new digital architecture. ISO 20022, central bank digital currencies, bridge assets like XRP. This is what pattern recognition reveals when you hold all the threads simultaneously. The suppressed technology, the suppressed knowledge, the geopolitical prophecy scripts, and the financial transition, they're not separate stories. They're the same story told at different scales across different centuries. The recovery of what was hidden is accelerating. SpaceX, AI, cryptocurrency, declassification hearings, disclosure proceedings. The institutions that controlled the knowledge for centuries are losing their grip, not because they're being defeated, but because the technology to recover and distribute information now outpaces the technology to suppress it. Mount Hermon, where the Watchers descended, sits at the intersection of modern Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. The same geography at the center of the S2 crisis. The same land where three religious traditions claim eschatological authority. Coincidence doesn't explain why every thread in this series, technology, prophecy, suppressed knowledge, financial transition, converges on the same geography, the same timeline, and the same question. The question isn't whether the Watchers were real. The question is whether the pattern they represent, advanced knowledge given, seized, suppressed, and now returning, is real. And if it is, what does the return look like? The next episode answers that differently than you expect, because the pattern isn't just out there in institutions and governments and ancient texts. It's in here, in the human mind, in the architecture of how we think, how we break, and how we see. Jung mapped it 100 years ago. Neuroscience is confirming it now. And AI, the same AI that built the framework for Season 2, is the newest mirror for the oldest pattern. Voice, BM George, investigative, but with growing awe in Act 3 speed, 0. 9 segments, 5 S3E6 SS 1717 Pen Ave. JPG, DC building, professional, American flag. Subtle mystery, S3E6 SS Baron Trump books. JPG, Victorian book, covers side by side, S3E6 SS 5th Ave split. JPG 1896 text/modern Trump Tower comparison, S3E6 SS in Seaswick letters. JPG, large typography, institutional backdrop, S3E6 SS Navy UP stills. JPG, stylized frames from gimbal/go fast/fleur 1 S3E6 SS Grush testimony. JPG, congressional hearing room, witness at table S3E6 SS thread convergence. JPG, 3 colored threads merging, all seasons S3E6 SS Hermon from space. JPG, mountain at Syria/Lebanon/Israel border. Modern overlay S3E6 SS ancient modern overlay. JPG, Watcher descent map over S2 crisis geography, S3E6 SS Space Force emblem. JPG, official emblem dissolving into Lockwood logo modern tension. Electronic undertones, institutional cold. Act 2 pulse builds with UAP timeline. Act 3 S1 plus S2 plus S3 musical themes layering together. The convergence is the sound. Act 4 drop to silence. Mountain, ancient scale returns. 1. A DHS-connected company published a document connecting Space Force to the Book of Enoch. 020-045-2. In 1893, a novelist wrote about a character named Baron Trump who takes an underground journey guided by the dawn. 200-225-3. Space Force was not created to watch satellites. Satellites were already watched by the Air Force. 520-535-4. The institutions that controlled knowledge for centuries are losing their grip. 700-725. Mount Hermon, where the Watchers descended, sits at the intersection of modern Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. 735-755.